Hello, everybody. So today what we're going to be doing is working on this baby dragon's tail and body, but that takes a long time, so I might take some breaks to also work on the feet. Once this plushie is done, you're actually going to be able to buy it. Today was an early day for me because I work at a grocery store, which means that we do a lot more business around the holidays. So we had to have a whole meeting about it, and we're about to get super, super busy. I actually haven't made this part of the pattern before, because I accidentally at first I've made another Kailani off cam. Accidentally started with the wrong pattern and I started making the tail using the butterfly dragon pattern and then I switched. So it wasn't a big deal. I think they're very similar anyway, but it's interesting. I'm not using stitch markers yet because there's not that many stitches, but we're definitely going to need them later. I've seen this pattern made in like pink and lavender, and I really want to make it in those colors one day because I think it's super pretty. But right now I'm trying to use up my stash. Another thing that I think I'll do with this pattern is make some of the extra details. There's a bunch of optional stuff you can make, like ridges and spikes that you can put like on her head or her tail. You think that would be fun? I really want to know why this yarn ends up like slightly fluffy. It's not really designed to be, but it always ends up being like slightly fluffed. I think I made the tail fins last time, right? I started out making a bunch of the small, small details, which is backwards from how I usually make a project. It'll probably be at least one more stream where we either where, like, we make the feet and we do all the decorating, depending on how long it takes, or, like, we have one stream where we, like, just make the feet and, like, assemble it, and then have, like, another stream where we make all the tiny details. Alright, so that's 8 stitches. Right now, the pattern is super small because we're just at, like, the tip of the tail, but you'll be able to see it better later. I don't think I'll make this Kailani a snuggler, but I didn't realize that's a thing you can do where you just, like, don't stuff it, and it reminds me of like, those plushies that babies will cuddle with, where they're like a tiny blanket, and then they have, like, a doll's hands and feet on the corners. I really wanna make the butterfly dragon pattern again, it's so cool. It's a really big pattern that takes a lot of different colors, so I've been trying to figure out, like, what would be the best for it. I don't think I have enough black yarn for the edges, but I also don't have a lot of other yarn colors that contrast each other well enough to look good as, like, the main color and then the accent. I have some orange that I could use to make it look like a monarch butterfly, but again, I'm not sure I have enough black. The black yarn, I just have, like, some scraps of, so I might use it to make another kinda upcycling project. Like, I've made a couple of cat plushies where I intentionally use a bunch of different colors and brands of yarn, and on them, it's supposed to look like tabby cats, you know? They have lots of stripes. It's a good way to use up lots of little bits of yarn where you don't have enough of each color to make a whole project. I'm not sure if we'll be able to finish the whole tail and body in one stream either, just because it's a pretty big part of the pattern, but we'll do as much as we can. I think once I'm done this pattern, I'll have lots of ice blue left too. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with all that because I don't think I'll have enough to make a third Kailani, but I want to do something. Maybe I could use it as an accent color in another year, in another project. Because I have my powder blue, which I made a different pattern with it. You can find it on my other socials. I wonder if I have enough of that to make like another pattern, and then I could use this to accent it because this is much, much later. I always feel like this part looks like a little triangle, but a lot of the ridges that we can sew on also look like triangles. So that'll probably be fine. I think we're only like halfway up the tail right now, max. So it's gonna be like chonky. It's gonna be cute. I also have some beads that I might use to decorate her. That would really enhance the water dragon look. Since right now the tail is so narrow, it's a little bit tricky to stuff. Oops. You have to get out like a tiny bit at a time. All right, that's 12 around. She's gonna be so round once we're all done this pattern. It looks really cute in the pictures. This yarn keeps also slightly tangling, and I don't know why that is. Maybe it's the texture. We're gonna have to do a lot more increases soon. I have enough white that I might use it to make a whole pattern, and I think it could look really cool if it was in monochrome. But again, I don't have a ton of black, so I might have to use that for like tiny, tiny details, and then use like gray as an accent color. I've literally never done that making a pattern before, but I've seen like some varieties of moth or butterfly that are all black, white, and gray, so I might try it. wonder if I could make all of it in white. Would that look like muddled? Like, could you tell where the details were and stuff? A lot of the examples in the pattern pictures have these specific really big sparkly eyes, and I'm not too concerned about that right now, but I'm really curious about how different these would look if you just change the eyes. Because mine are like very basic black safety eyes. Like, would that make them feel different? Not literally like when you hold them in your hand, like their personality. Yeah, this kind of I'm looking at the pattern right now. The the tail in this pattern reminds me a little bit of the kind of lizard where it has like a really fat tail. I don't remember what it's called, but it has it so it can like store up energy. And then if it goes like a long time without eating, then it can just use the stored up energy like a camel's hump. Isn't that cool? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16. Okay, good. Hello. This color does remind me of like water. Like it reminds me of the ocean, but for some reason it also specifically reminds me of fresh water. I'm making a dragon, and it sort of reminds me of when I used to visit up north, like in Maine, and there the water's much colder. I'm not sure why, but it's pretty. Once I'm done making this, it's gonna be up for sale. So I think it's called the About section on YouTube. If you go there and in the description of this, there'll be a link to my Etsy, and it'll be listed there once it's done. Okay, there's one. Basically, what we're doing at this section of the tail is every time we make a row where we're increasing, then we do 3 rows with that number of stitches. So as you can see, it grows in length, but it also widens as we approach the body. And once we're done this section of 3 rounds, then we're just gonna do a few rounds of increasing, because that's gonna be transitioning into the actual body, like the torso. The assembly of these usually takes a little while, and, like, it's not hard, it's just that there's a lot of pieces, so I wanna make sure I have everything made before I start, like, pinning stuff together. It simplifies the process. I kind of wanted to add orange accents to this because blue and orange are complementary colors, but the only orange I have is neon orange. And when I say that, I don't just mean like it's bright. I mean like if you look at one of those signs on the side of a road where it's like orange reflective, it's that orange in yarn. And that means it doesn't go with most other yarns because most other yarns are not neon glowing, hurt your eyes. And I don't know what to do with it. I might use it with the black yarn to make something like spooky season themed. It is very too orange. Like, there's a time and a place for neon yarns. I just don't have that many of them right now. So it's like, it's just sitting in the corner. It doesn't go with anything. And there's only like this much of it. The ball is only like this big right now. So I can't use all of it to make like a whole project, but I think I'll probably use it with some other colors. Like, what are the brightest colors I have? What are complementary colors? Find the way it can be most useful. Right now, in a lot of places, it's autumn and you see like orange leaves. So I wonder if I could make it like autumn-y somehow. I do have another color of orange that's much more muted. It's just a very different weight. So I wonder, one thing that you can do if you have a yarn that's like too thick of a weight is you only use like some of the strands, like with embroidery floss. So I wonder if I could use that for this. I don't want to use too much of it, but just as like an accent. Orange, blue, and white, I don't always see used together, but I think they're really pretty. Okay, so now we're going to start the more rapid increasing. 18, 24, 36, 42. Okay, I think we're increasing in multiples of 6. Me with my small math brain trying to do a pattern. I learned recently that there's like a mini version of this pattern where you can make like a mini water dragon. So that's something I might try in the future because it looks super cute. The other day, I went to the post office to stock up on packages so I can mail these, and I didn't realize just how small some of the projects I've made are. So I got like all medium packages because the small packages are like this big, and I was like, "Oh, there's no way that's big enough for some of them." But then I measured some of the cats I've made, and they would definitely fit. So now I feel silly. I think about all the different like individual Kailanis people make with this pattern. I think about them like they're all the same species, but they're just like different individuals in the species. Okay. On this Kailani that I'm making right now, the wings have inverted colors. So like the membranes of the wings are this color, and then like the bones and the edges were white. And it's not something I ever really tried with a pattern before, but I think it's a fun way to add like interest. Is even if you're using the same colors, just swatch like s- switch like which color you put where, and then you can use up like all of those colors. I need to find some kind of like slogan to say whenever I need people to like engage with the video. Because there's this YouTuber I watch where what he says is like, comment, subscribe if you're feeling the vibe. It's really funny, but like that's also something you actually need to make sure like you get your income. So I think it's a good way to get it across without being annoying. Why do people call small ants cement? It's very funny. I just want to know why. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Okay. We're increasing every 4 stitches. So 4 stitches and then you increase. In a little bit, we're gonna have to do 7 rounds, which isn't too many, but they're gonna be of a lot of stitches, which is 42 each, and that's gonna make up the majority of the body. Okay, so that's the finished tail, and we're pretty much doing the body now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so now we're going to do 7 rounds of 42 stitches each. I'm really trying not to, like, squeeze this with my pincer hands because I have a bad habit of holding on too tightly, and then I hurt my hands. I think once this is all done, this will look really cute because the round cheeks work really well with the round belly. I think on camera, this looks like even paler, but in person, it is genuinely a nice blue. Right now, I think this looks almost like a mushroom. It's very much not a mushroom. Right now, this almost looks like a flower, I think, too. Hello, everyone. For some reason, this reminds me of flowers. I don't know exactly what I think they're called periwinkles, or I called them periwinkles. I used to live in Northern Virginia, and they were like this exact like circle shape with little wrinkles. They were more of a purplish color, though. I took Spanish in high school, and a word that I did not learn there, but from just cultural osmosis, is that apparently the word for seaweed is alga. And because of that, when Pokemon was making Diamond and Pearl, they considered changing Dialga's name in the Spanish version, because now it sounds like the Lord of Time is named Seaweed. They didn't, but that would have been very funny, especially because it's not a water type. Palkia is a water type, so at that point, you might as well name it Seaweed. Speaking of Dialga, do you guys think like the lines all over it look like clock hands? I don't really see it, but that's something I've heard other people say, and that makes sense. Time, clocks. Right now, this looks kind of ripply, but that's pretty normal before you stuff it. It should be fine. This about to be so round. Recently, I saw this whale where its mouth like looks fake. I want to say it's called the bowhead whale, and its mouth, it looks like this. It's like curved. Its skull from the side, it looks like this. It looks fake, but it's real, and it uses its mouth like a scoop. I kind of wonder if I should keep track just how long it takes to make each of these, so I know for like if I need to make one and I'm like on a time limit so I can plan for that. Because I haven't really kept track of it before, but each of these sessions is usually at least an hour long. I recently learned that the way I yarn over, where I put it under first, is apparently not the normal way. There's nothing wrong, it's just not typically how people do it. Normally, people will hold the hook like this and put the yarn over like that. This whole time, what I've done is I bring the yarn from underneath. I really want to start stuffing this soon, but if I start doing it now, it'll just like fall out. This really looks like that lizard now. It looks like I think it lives in the desert. It looks like the lizard with the big tail. I think sometimes when you see animals with exaggerated features like the lizard or the bowhead whale, it's easy to go like if you see them in an illustration, it's easy to go like, "Oh, that must be exaggerated." But no, they're 100% real. Like all that stuff happens in real life. There's this Pokemon. I think it's either Golbat or Crobat. That's obviously a bat. And when it drinks lots of blood, but then like there's like another bat in its colony that doesn't have enough, it will actually share it. And I was curious, like, how do real vampire bats do that? So I looked into it, and I thought they had like teeth like a snake where they're like hollow and they can like suck stuff out, but no. It turns out they're just really sharp. So they make like a really small cut so the animal usually doesn't feel it. And then they'll drink just like a tiny bit of blood. It usually doesn't hurt the animal because vampire bats are pretty small compared to them and they don't eat very much as one time. And then they'll regurgitate it for another bat. So there's a reason why Pokemon does it. It actually happens. I'm sorry if I've grossed out anyone watching. I talk about animals a lot because I think they're really cool. I'm really curious about why bats hang upside down too. Like, what's the reason for that? Most animals don't do that. But what they specifically do is hang upside down in like a cave or the hollow of a tree, and there's lots of them close together. So I wonder if they do that like to share body heat. But why do they gotta be upside down, huh? I don't know. I never noticed also that their noses look kind of like upside down hearts. So there's a different Pokemon, Woobat and Swoobat, that are also based on bats, but they're much fluffier. They're meant to look pretty different. And their nose is an actual heart shape. And I think probably how that happened is someone was looking at like a bat and they were like, huh, that nose looks like a heart, but upside down. So what if we turned it right side up? So their whole thing is like they're bats, but they're super cuddly and fluffy. I think also Pidov's whole thing is a pun because in Japanese, how you would pronounce the English word heart is hato, and how the word for pigeon is similar, but it's pronounced slightly differently, which is hato. So, it's a pigeon with a heart shape on it. And I don't know if this was intentional, but its English name, Pidove, I've forgotten its Japanese name. It also sounds like the word love. And doves, like people will release them at weddings and stuff. So they're seen as symbols of romance. I'm really curious also about how poodles started being considered like the fancy dogs. Because from what I understand, why they have like such thick fur and why it's trimmed in such a specific way is actually to protect them from water. That's why like they'll have lots of fluff on their head. It's to keep their head from getting cold if they go in the water. So how did people see that and go like, but what if we made them pretty? And like the exact opposite of retrieving or hunting or whatever they were doing. They're very intelligent. Like, let's also use that intelligence and train them, but to do this completely different thing. I wonder if I could make this look like a little unicorn. That could be fun. Like maybe if I made part of the tail pattern or if I made one of the ridges taller and then put it on the head. Okay. All right, going into round 6 of this. Once we're done this session of 7 rounds, we're gonna start decreasing, and then we're gonna finish the body. It's gonna be so much easier to stuff once we're done the 7 rounds. Because right now it would just, like, fall or get in the way. This is what I'm talking about, where it gets, like, slightly fluffy. The part I'm at right here, it's like I don't think you can see it super well on camera, but it looks like when you have, like, a sweater and you, like, rub at it, so then it gets, like, the little hairs. It's not, like, as neat anymore. I still have so much green and gray yarn, dude. Ooh, I wonder if I could use that for a version of this pattern? Hmm. Like, I don't know a ton of what pairs well with gray. Like, I've seen yellow and gray work well before. Like, would that work for like a butterfly? Recently, I saw another really cool pattern by Holly's Yarn Creations, who made the butterfly dragon pattern. She made a celestial dragon pattern called Luna, and it's something I really want to try. She says, like, take notes in advanced pattern. I think I can handle it. I just like looking at the pattern pictures. It's like it's like the head and body is mostly covered in like a fluffy yarn, and I wonder, is that like a new technique? I noticed the wings aren't, like, huge on this, and I think that's just because it's supposed to be cute, but I also like that they look like little fins. So I imagine her, like, swimming through the water and using the fins to, like, turn. It took me, like, multiple years to go through my last bag of polyfill, so hopefully I can use this up a bit quicker. I think we're gonna need to switch to a new ball of this yarn soon. Okay, so now we're basically gonna do the reverse of the increases we did earlier, where we're gonna decrease every 5 stitches and then do a round of that, and then decrease every 4 stitches and just continue on. I think we're not going to close up the body all the way, but that's because we're gonna sew it onto the head. Another thing I'm gonna have to do for the feet is make bobbles for each of the toes, like I made for the bumps on the horns. And that's something I'm still catching up on how to do, but it shouldn't be too difficult. It's just taking some practice to like remember how to do it. And since I have to make 4 feet, it's not too difficult, but it is time consuming. So that'll probably be its own thing. I'm really excited to see how this will look once it's all done, because it's a different color than the other one I've made. I'm gonna do a bunch of stuff just a little bit differently, and I think it's gonna look super, super cute and squeezable. Like in crochet, even when you're making spikes, like you would see on a dinosaur or something, they don't look too sharp because it's crochet. It's yarn. It's soft. It makes a round shape, so that makes it look really cuddly. So when we finish the body, it's gonna have 18 stitches around for the neck, and I'm pretty sure that's about how far around, like, the bottom of the head is. So that's good. Okay, so this is about how wide the widest part of the body is gonna be. Super cute and small. I'm actually really excited to use up this yarn because I've had it for a long time, but I haven't really found a good place to use it, you know? I don't usually work with this light blue, so I'm glad it has like a vehicle. Gotta untangle a bit. The last parts of the skein of yarn are usually very tangly. Okay. I think I can work on stuffing this now. It looks like a cup. I think I tend to kind of like I stuff my plushies a lot, and that's because I don't want them to be too floppy. But I kind of feel like that makes them look stretched, so it's something I'm trying to work on. Right now, I'm not like super like scientifically untangling this and just kind of loosening it and seeing how it goes. I might work more on stuffing this once I'm done making the body, because then I can see like this is how it's going to look when it's done. How do I want it to look when it's done? There are these little decorations you can make for the tail too, like little ruffles that go on either side. So I think that would be fun to make. Not today, but a time soon. I might actually have to do that off camera because I'm working. I have like a deadline for this project, but it's not like a huge deal. It'll still look really cute even if it's not as decorated. We will continue to fill the cup. I heard once you can make like some kinds of candy out of styrofoam, and I think that says bad things about both the candy and the styrofoam. At that point, what are you eating? What's the styrofoam? I know it takes like 100 years to decompose or something. Okay, that looks good. Something I usually do when I'm stuffing something is squeeze it a bit to try and like evenly distribute all the stuffing, because otherwise it can look kind of lumpy. I really hope someone like I see some people call it adopting, but like it's not really alive, obviously. I hope somebody really wants this plushie once it's done because it's taking a long, long time. And that's for a good reason. It's just because it takes a lot of work. But I think it's going to look really good. Look, it looks like a little ball. That'll look really good because the head is also super round, has really round cheeks. So this will make it really cute. A nice thing about when you're doing decreases is each row is usually shorter than the last, so it can go by pretty quickly. This is a Sphinx crochet pattern, and most of them have names. So I'm really curious about where they get the names from. Like, there's this there's this dragon that's based on axolotls, and I think her name is Aurora. It's super cute. I saw, I think it was Sphinx Crochet who has like a Loch Ness monster pattern, and that one is, I want to say it's named Luna, and then the mini version is named Luluna. Okay, this this row should end with 24 stitches. I've seen some versions of this pattern made in pink and purple. I love them. I have so much yellow yarn, dude. I don't know what to do with it. Something I might do, and I might have to stock back up on black for this, is make the butterfly dragon pattern in yellow so that it looks like that yellow swallowtail butterfly. And I might get out little bits of like blue and pink yarn to add to the accents, and that would make it look even more like one. I might have to find like the other end of this because we should be able to get it now. Yeah. Okay. Once you get to the end of a skein of yarn, It's not as difficult to untangle because there's just less yarns. This should only take a minute, but I don't want us to have any more interruptions while we're finishing this. Okay, almost done. You see this amount of yarn here? This is the amount that I have of some of my colors of yarn. So that's why I use like little bits at a time to make like really varied projects. You know, like if you have like a bunch of crayons and eventually they're so worn down and you just have the ends of a bunch of crayons and you melt them together into a new one. That's kind of what I'm doing with yarn right now. I do want to make something other than cats with it because I think it's a really interesting way of doing it. But I'm trying to think like what are other things that are normally like varied in colors or have stripes? I think I know like there are some kinds of rock where they basically have stripes because of how they're formed. But I don't really want to make a rock and I don't think there's a lot of patterns for them. I was thinking I might make a zebra and instead of giving it just like black and white stripes, instead it's like striped all over in a bunch of random colors. I wonder if that would be fun. Okay, next row should be the last one of the body. So then we're going to stuff it some more, maybe make a foot, and then we'll be done for today. I might not do all the assembling on camera just because I'm kind of tight on time, but I do want to do all the actual crocheting on here. I think right now this looks like a little bit like, but once it's stuffed, it'll look more round. Okay, last row. We're gonna have a tiny bit of this yarn left. Well, this ball of yarn. I have plenty of this color. So we should be able to start back up with it tomorrow. Well, I'm not sure if it'll be tomorrow, but the next time we do this. Almost there. Okay. So we're gonna fast this off and finish the stuffing. Okay. I'm trying to stuff this as much as I can to make it look nice and round and cuddly, but also not overstuff it. Okay, there's the tail and the body, and I think we should have time to make, like, a foot, but since we have to make 4, we're not gonna make them all today. One thing you can do when you're making this pattern is make the toes a separate color from the rest of the foot. It's not something I wanna do, but it looks good. Right now, we're pretty much just increasing to make it nice and wide. Nine, 12. Okay. Okay. One, two. This might take a minute just because I need to make sure I know what I'm doing with the bobbles. Okay. We should end this thingy with 5 loops on the hook and then pull through all of them, and that's the bobble. Okay. I'm gonna tie this up real quick because this is gonna be small, so I don't want it getting in the way. I might also sew this up a bit when I'm done, just because as we are, it looks like there's a bunch of holes between the stitches. That's just because some of them are bigger than the others. Another 3 single crochet. These do need to be stuffed, but not too much. Look, there's the toes. They are really fun to make. All right. Should be this next row should be the last one of the foot. We can stuff it just a little bit. And I don't really see the gaps between the stitches anymore. I think it looks okay. I've seen a lot of people come to these where I'm making dragons, and that's really cool to me because it's something I really like doing. Okay. All right. Time for the stuff. I think it makes the toes like poke out a little bit more. Okay. Look, it's done. Beep. It's so cute. So next time we'll make the rest of those and probably assemble this. And I'm not sure exactly what day that's going to be on yet because I'm still figuring out my schedule, but it should be next week in just a few days. And I'll put up my whole schedule for that week in my community tab. So be sure to check there.